You bought the cheap one. You know which one I'm talking about. The $15 earbuds, the no-name phone charger, the fast fashion jacket that looked fine online, the budget gym shoes, the $3 umbrella from the gas station. And every single time, you end up back at the store buying it again. Or worse, you end up buying the expensive version anyway, just 6 months late and $30 poorer. There's a name for this. Economists call it the cost of ownership problem. Normal people call it, why does this keep happening to me? The short version, the price tag is not the price. The price is everything you pay, money, time, frustration, replacement costs, over the full life of the thing. And once you understand that, you'll never look at a good deal the same way again. Let's get into it. The running example. We're going to use boots. Specifically, a cheap pair of $40 boots versus a decent pair of $180 boots. Same category, dramatically different price. You're going to see this comparison come up again and again, and by the end of this video, you'll know which one actually costs more. Spoiler, it's not always the $180 pair. Price versus cost. First, let's kill a word. Price is the number on the tag. That's it. It's a one-time figure at the moment of purchase. Cost is different. Cost is the total resource you give up to own something and use it over time. Those two numbers are almost never the same, and the gap between them is where most people lose money without realizing it. Your $40 boots have a price of $40, but if they fall apart in 4 months and you buy 2 pairs a year, the annual cost is $80. Meanwhile, the $180 boots last 4 years. Annual cost, $45. The cheap option cost nearly double per year. This is called the true cost of ownership, or sometimes just total cost of ownership. It means adding up every dollar a thing demands from you across its entire useful life. Okay, moving on. The Victoria line boots example. Real history. There's a passage from a Terry Pratchett novel, Men at Arms, that explains this better than most economics textbooks. A character named Captain Vimes thinks about boots. He says, a man who can afford $50 boots buys a pair that lasts 10 years. A man who can only afford $10 boots buys a pair that lasts a year. So the poor man spends more on boots in 10 years than the rich man does. This became known as the Boots theory of socioeconomic unfairness. It's fiction, but it describes something real. Poverty is expensive. Not being able to afford quality up front forces people into a cycle of repeated purchases that costs more in total. This is well documented in economics research on low-income consumer behavior. The cruel irony, the less money you have, the harder it is to buy the thing that would actually save you money. Your $40 boots aren't just cheap, they're a tax on not having $180 up front. Your time is a cost, too. Here's the one people forget. Every time your cheap thing breaks, you spend time dealing with it. Time finding a replacement. Time returning it. Time resetting it up. Time being annoyed with it. Time doing without it while you wait for the new one. Economists call this opportunity cost, the value of what you could have done with that time instead. If your $40 boots blow out on the sole during a night out and you have to walk weirdly for 3 hours and then spend 45 minutes finding a replacement online the next morning, that's not free. That's time. And time has value even if you're not billing by the hour. The cheap phone charger that takes twice as long to charge your phone every single night, you're paying a hidden time tax. It's not on the receipt, but it's real. The false economy. There's a specific term for this trap, false economy. A false economy is when you think you're saving money, but when you zoom out, you spent more. Classic examples. Buying a cheap car that needs constant repairs. Each repair individually is cheaper than a new car, but add them up and you've paid for a new car, except you still have the old broken one. Buying the large fast food meal because it's only 50 cents more. You didn't want the large, you didn't need the large, but the price delta made it feel stupid not to. Now you ate 400 extra calories you didn't want and spent money you didn't plan to. False economy. Buying the budget laptop for college because you're trying to save money and then losing hours to lag, crashes, and incompatibility, and then replacing it sophomore year anyway. False economy. The $40 boots? False economy. Mathematically, demonstrably false. Why we still buy the cheap one? So if this is obvious, why does everyone keep doing it? Because the human brain is terrible at long-term cost calculations and very good at reacting to immediate prices. Behavioral economists call this present bias. We heavily weight what something costs right now versus what it'll cost us over time. The $40 price tag is vivid and immediate. The 4 future replacement purchases and the cumulative frustration, abstract, far away, not real yet. So we pick $40 every time, and then we're surprised when we're back at the store in March. It's not stupidity, it's just how brains are wired. Immediate rewards and costs feel bigger than future ones. This is the same mechanism behind skipping the gym, eating fast food, and opening TikTok when you should be sleeping. Present bias runs your decisions more than you think. The gear tax. There's a version of this in fitness that's almost poetic. Someone decides to get into running. They don't want to spend much. They buy $30 no-support running shoes. 2 weeks in, their knees hurt. They think they just hate running. They quit. The $30 shoes didn't just fail physically, they killed the habit. Now compare someone buys $130 proper running shoes. They run for 2 years. Cost per run? Basically nothing. The cheap option cost them the entire activity. This pattern shows up everywhere in fitness and gear. Cheap resistance bands that snap, bargain blenders that can't blend, budget yoga mats that slide and cause wrist pain. Each one doesn't just break, it creates friction that makes you stop doing the thing. The real cost of the $40 boots isn't just the next pair. Sometimes it's the job interview you looked slightly off for, the date where you were self-conscious, the hike you didn't enjoy because your feet hurt. Cost is weird and wide. The maintenance gap. Here's a version that hits different with cars. There are 2 types of car owners, the ones who do regular oil changes, tire rotations, and minor maintenance, and the ones who ignore all of that because they're saving money. The first group spends a few $100s a year on maintenance. The second group spends thousands on emergency repairs, or they're stranded somewhere at 11 p.m., or the engine seizes at 80,000 miles and the car is totaled. Skipping maintenance is a false economy of the highest order. You're not saving money, you're deferring costs with interest. Same thing applies to your body, honestly. Skipping the dentist because it's expensive is a fantastic way to eventually need a root canal, which costs roughly 10 times a checkup. The cheap move in the short run often becomes the expensive move in the long run. Your boots are still in this metaphor too. Neglecting leather boots you paid $40 for makes them last even less. Spending $8 on boot conditioner and proper care stretches the life significantly. Maintenance is a cost. Not maintaining is also a cost. You're always paying. The question is when. Quality versus price. They're not the same thing. Important nuance here because this isn't just always buy the expensive one. Price and quality don't have a perfect relationship. There are expensive things that are low quality and cheap things that are genuinely good. The question isn't what's the price, it's what's the quality per dollar over the life of this thing. A $25 t-shirt from a mid-tier brand that lasts 5 years has better cost of ownership than a $60 t-shirt from a hype brand that pills after 10 washes. The goal isn't to spend more. The goal is to stop spending repeatedly on the same category. For the $40 versus $180 boots scenario, the answer depends on whether you actually need boots that last, how often you wear them, and whether the quality difference is real or just branding. Not all $180 boots are 4 times better than $40 boots. Some are just $140 more expensive with better marketing. Research your specific purchase. Read reviews focused on durability, not aesthetics. Look for long-term feedback. Find the point on the quality curve where you get maximum longevity per dollar spent. That's the actual skill. Subscription bleed is false economy. Quick detour because this is relevant. People often buy cheap or free subscription tiers to save money. Then they hit the limitations, ads, storage caps, feature walls. So they work around it. Multiple free accounts, workarounds that take time. Eventually they either upgrade or they're just grinding against friction constantly. Friction has a cost. This also works in reverse. People overpay for premium subscriptions they barely use because they're afraid of losing access to features they've used once. Both are false economies. One is paying in time and frustration, one is paying in actual money for nothing. The only version that isn't a false economy is accurately matching what you actually need to what you actually pay. Most people do neither. The boots math final round. Let's close the loop on the boots. $40 boots, let's say they last 8 months, 2 pairs a year, $80 a year. Over 4 years, $320, plus the time to find and buy replacements, plus the general low-level annoyance of shoes that don't fit well because they were built fast and cheap. $180 boots, quality construction, decent materials, last 4 years with basic care. $180 over 4 years, plus maybe $20 in occasional maintenance products. Total, $200. The $40 boots cost $120 more over 4 years. And that's before you account for the times the cheap ones failed at a bad moment, the job interview, the long day on your feet, the hike. The expensive boots were cheaper. That's not a paradox, that's math. When cheap is correct. Real talk, sometimes cheap is the right answer. If you only need something once or a handful of times, buy cheap or borrow. Spending $180 on boots for one camping trip when you'll never camp again is false economy in the other direction. If you're genuinely uncertain whether you'll use something, start cheap. Figure out if you need the activity or category at all. There's no point in buying premium running shoes if you don't know whether you actually like running yet. If the quality difference is negligible, generic medication with the same active ingredient as the branded version, grocery store pasta versus artisanal pasta for a weekday dinner, store-brand olive oil for cooking versus finishing, in many categories the cheap version is functionally identical. The framework isn't always pay more, it's think past the price tag. Ask, how often will I use this? How long does it need to last? What happens if it fails? What's the real annual cost? Answer those questions and you'll almost always make a better call than the person just grabbing whatever's on sale. The second-hand wild card. One move that breaks the price versus quality trade-off entirely: buying second-hand. If the $80 boots are the better product, but you can find a used pair in good condition for $60, you've escaped the entire problem. The quality is there, the price is low, the durability is already proven, it survived someone else. This is why platforms like eBay, Depop, Facebook Marketplace, and thrift stores aren't just budget options. They're access points to quality at cheap prices. For categories where quality matters, tools, furniture, boots, jackets, gym equipment, secondhand is often the highest value move available. The only thing you're giving up is the new item experience, which after about 20 minutes of use, you've already lost anyway. The invisible tax of unreliability. One more layer. When you own cheap things, you live with background stress. Will the charger work tonight? Will these shoes hold up? Is this bag going to blow a strap in the middle of the airport? That's cognitive load. Low grade, always on, barely noticeable, but there. Quality gear that you trust eliminates that noise. You just use it. It works. You move on. That's a real quality of life benefit that doesn't show up in any cost calculation, but absolutely shows up in how you feel day to day. Your $40 boots are fine. They're probably fine. You think they're fine. But somewhere in the back of your brain, you know they're the $40 boots. Rapid recap. All right, here's everything. Price is what you pay once. Cost is what you pay over time. True cost of ownership includes replacement, maintenance, time, and the friction of failure. The boots theory. Poverty forces repeated cheap purchases that cost more in total. False economy, thinking you saved money when you actually spent more across time. Present bias, your brain treats the $40 tag price as more real than the $80 annual replacement cost. Gear failure doesn't just cost money, it kills habits and shows up at bad moments. Maintenance skipping isn't saving money, it's deferring costs with interest. Price and quality aren't the same. Figure out the quality per dollar over the item's real lifespan. Sometimes cheap is correct for one-off uses, uncertain habits, or genuinely identical products. Secondhand breaks the trade-off entirely. High quality, low price, proven durability. Unreliable cheap things carry invisible cognitive costs that grind you down slowly. The move, think past the tag. Ask what the thing costs per year, per use, per failure. Then, buy the boots. Outro/CTA. If you've watched this whole video, congratulations. You just made back the cost of whatever cheap thing you bought last month. Mentally, anyway. Drop a comment with the cheap thing that cost you the most in the long run. Mine's a $15 phone case that cracked on impact, the one job it had. Like the video if this made you rethink something. Subscribe if you want more of this. We break down one topic at a time. No fluff, no guru nonsense. See you in the next one.